In October of this year, countless articles covered the recent match between Iran and Cambodia, highlighting the fact that women were allowed to purchase tickets and enter Azadi Stadium to watch the competition. Since the 1979 revolution in Iran, women have, generally speaking, been prevented from entering these spaces, making this concession the cause of much celebration. Yet, amidst what appears to be a positive step in the right direction, is a troubling past and what seems to be an uncertain future. On a few occasions, women have been allowed to enter stadiums. For example, the Mercury News reported last year that some women were allowed to watch Iran's national team play against Bolivia. According to the article, close to 100 women, employees of the Iranian Federation and members of the women's national team, sat in their own section and waved Iranian flags through near constant cheering. With that said, it was also noted that Iran's political establishment made clear after the match that women would not be allowed into future sporting events. On another occasion, Reuters claimed that Iran allowed hundreds of local women to attend the Asian Champions League final in Tehran. Nevertheless, in spite of these relatively rare instances, women have been banned from watching soccer matches. This prohibition was thrown into the international spotlight in early September when numerous outlets reported on the death of Sahar Hodiari. Back in March 2019, she disguised herself as a man in order to watch a soccer game. She was caught and, according to reports, charged with insulting officials and openly committing a sinful act because she appeared in public without a hijab. In September, upon hearing that she could be sentenced for 6 months in prison, Sahar doused herself with gasoline and lit herself on fire. She was taken to the hospital but, tragically, ended up dying. Her death brings attention to the discrimination that women face in Iran when trying to attend soccer games. In a few instances, women have been denied access to stadiums, even in spite of possessing valid tickets. For example, in September 2017, the BBC reported that Iranian women were refused entry to their national football team's World Cup qualifier against Syria, despite having pre-ordered tickets. Apparently, several women had been able to buy tickets online. However, Iran's Football Federation later said that tickets were sold by mistake and promised to refund the women who had bought them. Some women tried to bring their tickets to the stadium to see if they could gain entrance, however they were turned away. A similar event seems to have happened in June 2019, with the situation escalating into violence. The Daily Mail reported that female football fans have been attacked in Tehran, adding that guards from the state security force kicked and punched the women after they tried to enter the Azadi Stadium in the country's capital. At the time of this article, it was understood that at least 2 Iranian women were arrested and taken into custody, but it was unclear what will be done with them. In another instance, the BBC claimed that Iran has detained 35 women for trying to attend a football match, with Iran saying that they were temporarily held and would be released after the match. It seems that the female football fans were not arrested, but transferred to a, quote, proper place by police. Given these restrictions, many women have resorted to enter stadiums undercover. In some cases, they have gotten away with it. For example, Fox News describes how a group of Iranian female soccer fans donned fake beards and dressed as men last week so they could attend a match at a stadium where they're banned based on their gender. However, this has not always been the case. In 2017, it was reported that 8 women have been arrested in Iran for dressing up as men so they could watch a football match. They had attempted to disguise themselves in order to watch the game, but now face legal action. Moreover, it doesn't seem to be fans who are the only victims of this discrimination. In August 2019, the Times of Israel describes how Iran has arrested a prominent female photojournalist for sneaking into a soccer game, which is forbidden for women. She reportedly dressed as a man in order to do so. To an outsider, this situation may seem a bit odd, and raises the question of why Iran would make this prohibition. The Daily Mail notes that rules banning women from football games were introduced by religious leaders concerned about public morals and the risk to women of unwanted attention from men in the rush to enter and leave the stadiums. The religious nature of the prohibition was re-emphasized in 2018 by Iran's prosecutor general in response to a brief concession that allowed a small number of women to watch a soccer game. He is quoted as saying, "I object to the presence of women in Azadi Stadium yesterday. We are a Muslim state. We are Muslims. When a woman goes to a stadium and is faced with half-naked men in sports clothes and sees them, it will lead to sin." One woman in Iran's parliament cited the environment inside sports stadiums, in contrast to other public spaces, as the basis for some concern. She notes that, when it comes to cinema, theater, music concerts, and other public events, both men and women will go together. We watch, we participate. There's no segregation and no problem arises. What they argue is that, as a result of the excitement which sports brings, they can't anticipate what may happen. Unfortunately, progress in Iran has been hard to come by. A glimmer of hope was offered in 2006 after President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad unexpectedly lifted a ban last week that had prohibited women from entering stadiums. This was in spite of senior clerics and conservative members of parliament who argued that the atmosphere was inappropriate for women. However, this decision was quickly reversed. NPR reported that Iranian women soccer fans are devastated following a decision by Iran's supreme leader that women are not allowed to watch men's soccer games in person. This decision comes just a month after Iran's president said women are allowed to watch soccer matches at stadiums. Even the recent decision to admit women in October doesn't seem to guarantee any widespread long-term changes. An article by Quartz notes that, on October 20th, just 10 days after that hugely publicized match, the Persepolis FC team played Pikin FC at Azadi Stadium, with no women, no global media, or cameras present. While blame has been placed on Iran, others have focused on FIFA as well. In a sense, the criticism may be justified. After all, FIFA's own statutes claim that discrimination of any kind against a country, private person, or group of people on account of gender is strictly prohibited and punishable by suspension or expulsion. Because of this, it seems reasonable for people to expect football's international governing body to pressure Iran to change its practices. Doing so is merely expecting the organization to stay true to its own stated beliefs. In some ways, FIFA has taken some action on this matter. For example, Reuters reports how FIFA's president has ramped up the pressure on Iran to ensure local female football fans are allowed to attend men's World Cup qualifiers in the Islamic Republic later this year. When speaking to Iranian football authorities about the issue of allowing women to enter soccer matches, he said, "I would like to reiterate FIFA's full offer of support to achieve this goal, and please allow me to underline, once again, that it is really imperative that we make progress here and that we do so together." More recently, FIFA's president offered a statement on Iran's stadium ban for women, saying, "I am hopeful that the Iranian Federation and the Iranian authorities were receptive to our repeated calls to address this unacceptable situation. Our position is clear and firm. Women have to be allowed into football stadiums in Iran." With that said, some have been extremely critical of FIFA, even suggesting that they could have done more to help prevent the death of Sahar Hodiari, the woman who set herself on fire after hearing that she may have to do jail time for trying to enter a soccer stadium disguised as a male. One Iranian activist said that, If FIFA took its own gender discrimination human rights rules more seriously, if FIFA acted on this earlier, this wouldn't have happened to Sahar. This woman said that she sent 8 letters to FIFA since last March, begging it to get Iran to lift the ban. She also handed a 200,000 signature petition to FIFA at its headquarters in Zurich, but, according to her, no one took this seriously. Others have argued for FIFA's role in the current situation, saying, Iran is responsible for the ban on women in stadiums, but world sports bodies like FIFA have important leverage, and they should not drop the ball on women's rights. More specifically, the article argues that, since Iran wants to play and host international tournaments, FIFA has enormous leverage to insist Iran play by the rules and stop discriminating against women. Part of the outrage towards FIFA seems to be fueled by the fact that, during the game that I discussed earlier on, where 35 Iranian women were detained for trying to enter, FIFA's president was in attendance. As a result, some were critical of his willingness to be present at an event that only allowed men inside, with some pointing out that, when the president was enjoying a football match in a men-only stadium, Iranian football fans were under arrest. Others have alleged that FIFA has not done the basic work to ensure that women can safely attend future international matches. FIFA should set a deadline for club league matches to admit families so that we can watch these games together. If FIFA can't get Iran to follow its rules, the country's soccer federation should be suspended from participating in international tournaments. Some have even leveled harsher criticisms against FIFA. When commenting on the recent game in October where women were allowed to attend, some have pessimistically said, when you look past the images of face-painted, cheering women coming out of Iran on Thursday, you realize this is just the latest example of FIFA's painfully slow progress on women's rights. Some refer to what happened as a baby step, which Amnesty International called a cynical publicity stunt. Such is part of broader criticisms, as is reflected in a New York Times opinion piece entitled, Why is FIFA Condoning Gender Apartheid? In light of this, it's unsurprising that some articles have been slow to celebrate what may appear to be progress in this realm. In fact, back in 2018, Women in the World published an article saying, it's too early to cheer the so-called end of Iran's notorious ban on women in sports stadiums. This hesitancy seems justified, given that the issue is still up in the air at the present moment. Part of what I think makes this issue somewhat unique is that, unlike many issues that arise within feminism, this one does not appear to be all that controversial. While matters of abortion or the prevalence of sexual assault are hotly debated, it is difficult to deny that women in Iran are experiencing discrimination when it comes to watching soccer, and that this discrimination is wrong. Yet, in spite of what appears to be obvious to so many outsiders, many in Iran think that this type of practice is morally justified. This raises the question, how do we invoke real change? Of course, the activists and women who have defied that ban play a central role in fighting for change, all of which has been highlighted by Open Stadiums, which describes itself as a movement of Iranian women seeking to end discrimination and let women attend stadiums. These admirable and courageous acts are powerful in a handful of ways. For example, they not only let us know that women want to enter into stadiums, but also that they are willing to put themselves at risk to do so. It also garners media attention. Moreover, cases where women have been caught sneaking in, have been arrested, have been detained, or, as was the case with Sahar Hodiari, have died in protest, shed a negative light on Iran's practices and can cause outside sources to pressure Iran to change. While activists play a central role, it also seems as if FIFA does as well. The global soccer organization has a significant amount of power, although it's unclear to me how much power they have and precisely what they are doing with it. They make demands for women to be allowed into stadiums, they meet with the people from Iran, and they say they are willing to assist Iran in attaining this goal. Yet, I personally have not read much about the specific details of what this entails. For me, the question still remains, what, exactly, are FIFA and Iran doing to ensure that these changes will occur? And, perhaps more importantly, what will happen if Iran does not comply? If what critics say is true, then progress has been slow and unsteady in the past, and we have reason to believe that change is unlikely to occur in the future. With that said, perhaps increased pressure on FIFA is what is ultimately needed. Many have drawn a connection between the death of Sahar Khodiari and increased pressure from FIFA on Iran, which played a role in allowing women to watch soccer in October. If this is true, then it seems that, at least to some extent, FIFA does have the power to influence what Iran is doing. The question that remains is, will FIFA use its power to the fullest extent? Hopefully, with the death of Sahar, it will be compelled to do so. Then there's also the vocal support of individuals with a platform. For example, the fact that women are banned from soccer stadiums was heavily criticized by Masoud Shojai, who is a captain of the Iranian men's football team. He notes that the prohibition placed on women is rooted in outdated and cringeworthy thoughts that will not be understood by future generations. Having celebrities like this speak out can be extremely important, not only because it lends support to those fighting for women's equality in this domain, but also because it has the potential to sway the views of football fans who may respect this man and what he has to say. I also think it's worth noting one area that I don't know much about. It's unclear to me what the general population in Iran thinks about this issue, and I'm not sure if there are any polls which have sought to measure the opinion of Iranians on the ban that women face in stadiums. One article did describe how the recent decision to allow women to enter a soccer stadium upset hardliners, stating that about 50 hardliners protested outside of Parliament while calling for action against those behind the decision. Yet it isn't clear to me how popular this view is. As a result, if the ban were to be removed immediately, it's unclear to me what backlash would result and how large it would be. While a lot more could be said on this matter, I think I'll close here by quoting an activist. She claims that our fight to go to stadiums was always about human rights, about women's rights, and about the right to occupy public spaces and fully participate in the life of our country. We never accept being shut out. With that said, hopefully this was helpful in at least getting you to think about some of the issues that are going on around the world, and hopefully this was helpful in at least giving you a sense of some of the issues that women are wrestling with in Iran. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.